G'day, everybody. So essentially, for everyone joining, how this is going to work is you put your question in the Q&A box, which is down the bottom. I will then allow you to talk and you ask your question, I answer it, and then we just keep on rolling with it for the next hour or so. So let's get into it. We've got lots of people here. Sally Rigby, g'day. Great to see your beautiful name again. Josh, Dylan, Damien, Charlie, Tian. Fire away. How's my wardrobe just on the back of my chair? Too many changes of clothes. No, you're right. Oh, here we go. First cab off the rank. Charlie, the great. Here we go. Participants, attendees, bang. Let's go. You there, Charlie?
Hey Jack, how you going?
The legend. Good, mate. How's things?
Oh, not too bad yourself.
Mate, I am very well. How good's a rate cut? That's unbelievable.
0.25% makes all the difference in the world.
That makes sweet fuck all difference. But it's a
Yeah, I
great
know.
thing, that's for sure.
It's a sign of
Mate,
good things to come, hopefully.
mate, absolutely. How can I help?
I had a unit sold for 750K, no debt owed on it. What would you do
Yep.
in my position?
So you sold a property, got $750,000. What would I do? Is that right?
Yep,
How old are you?
22.
22. How
Mm-hmm.
good. 750 smacks at 22. No other property, I'm assuming, or other
No,
investments?
no.
How much money do you earn?
Uh, per year?
Per year, yeah. Just from a
Uh,
serviceability point of view.
130.
130. All right, so you're on a decent income for your age.
Hmm.
Um, So, I mean, what I would do is I'd make good use of that money, right? So I'd be
Hmm.
I'd be investing it. You're super young, you got a long road ahead of you.
Hmm.
And I would take the exact path that I did take from 22 to 28, which was use all the capital that I have available to continue to grow my portfolio because over a long period of time, it'll grow. And growth is the most important thing for you right now, from my point of view, is what I
Hmm.
focus on because cash flow should come. Like you've got a long life ahead of you, and you'll continue to increase your income, especially if you're on 130 odd thousand at the current age. So put that money to work, man. I'd
Hmm.
probably use entities to do it. Like if I was in your shoes, I'd go down probably the trust or company structure route. And the reason I
Yeah,
say that is just from a borrowing capacity point of view. If you go and
yeah,
buy
I've
one
got that
property,
advice from my accountant already. So if I was,
cool.
when I do, to do it through a trust structure.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you probably have to set up multiple trusts because you
Yeah,
you go and get your max capacity inside of one trust, which
correct.
based
Yeah.
on your income is probably worth, I don't know, it's probably 500 grand or 600 grand or something max. Plus,
Hmm.
then you combine a little bit of cash with it, and you might be able to get two or three purchases at 800-ish.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
And second question is, would you focus, if you're in my position at this age as well, would you focus on buying the property from a cash flow perspective or from a capital growth perspective?
Growth.
Growth, okay.
Yeah. I try and do both. You buy an asset where you can potentially generate some cash flow through, a granny flat or a second dwelling, for example, to bring up that rental yield.
Mm,
Um, and then you'd hold it for a long period of time and get the growth and ideally offset some debt and decrease your debt,
mm,
start spitting off more cash flow. Yeah, but mate, for you, like cash flow is not important if you're 22.
correct. Would you advise to
Yeah.
stay away from Sydney given the current market and how expensive things
You
are?
you won't get anything in Sydney, so you won't
Correct.
really have an option,
Yeah, of course.
unfortunately. But yeah, I
Perfect.
wouldn't buy in Sydney.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Ledger, man.
Thank you, man.
Good shit. Go make use of that cash.
Thank you.
For people who are just joining now, chuck your questions in the Q&A box and then I'll allow you to talk and you can ask your question. Not all at once, folks. Not all at once. Adrian, I know you've got a question. Put it in the Q&A box, legend. Let's rock and roll. Nat. Let's go, Nat. Where's Nat at? There we go. You there, Nat?
Hey Jack, how are you?
I am going fantastic. How are you?
I'm outstanding. I saw you flitting
Oh,
about Paddington earlier.
sorry, what was that?
I saw you flitting about Paddington earlier.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Yeah, I'm always getting around here doing something.
I
I'm
wanted,
always around. Hit me with your question.
yeah, I wanted to know, is it better to buy with your partner for greater borrowing capacity versus individually? My
Yep.
partner would be able to get the first home buyer benefits, etc. I would be supplying the deposit, but I guess it's that idea of growth, or do you get two individual assets, or how would you look at it?
So it sounds like you're no longer a first home buyer.
No, I'm not.
Right. So essentially you would give the money to your partner. Your partner would use the first home buyer in, I guess, the back room. It'd be a 50-50 owned property. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the situation could either be that I would be getting my first, I need to get my own property, and I would
Mhm.
be able to get my own property, and then equally that if it would be advantageous for her to get hers with the first home buyers versus us doing it together, I would be also able to give her a deposit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's advantageous if you can take advantage of the first home buyer incentives for sure, both of you guys, um, because you'll need to put in way less capital, right? So 5% deposit, no LMI, no stamp duty if you fall within those parameters in New South Wales, which means you can buy two properties with essentially 80 grand and get 1.6 million bucks worth of assets if you can get up to that 800,000 borrowing capacity per property.
I would
And
be
then,
able to, just for clarification, like I myself could probably borrow, I think maybe it's coming back at about 900 or a million. And then she would have, she's on 120, 110, 115, so whatever that is.
yeah,
So that's where it's just trying to figure out of like, do we go together, or is it better to like me to do one and then she does another?
yeah, I would do that. So it sounds like you're well and truly over the income cap of 130 grand if you can get a million bucks borrowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I would use your partner's capacity to use the first home buyer scheme of 5% for sure.
Mhm.
Um, Based on 110, 115, 120-ish of income, whatever it is, you probably get 550, 600 grand worth of borrowing capacity, which you need 25, 30 grand of capital to get it. And then you go and do one on your own. And what you
Awesome.
actually could do if you did the process correctly, your partner could buy one as the first home buyer, and then you could actually buy the second one and combine both your incomes to get the next one. I
Oh,
mean, if you did
really?
it, yeah, yeah. I mean, your partner would have essentially capped serviceability in her personal name because she's bought the first property. But let's say rates decrease a little bit, you then would get a little bit more capacity that you can combine with.
And
That'd
then
be the order.
can I have a follow-up question?
You can have as many questions as you like.
Awesome. And then, I mean, I can see that you're very hot on Newcastle, but let's say if there's like a one or two better that you can get in the eastern suburbs for about $1 million, a million,
Yeah.
do you think that's worth it, or do you think it's better to go to Newcastle?
No, look, I mean, I'm invested in the East, right? Like I started with the two-bedroom apartments in the East. The downside to it is now, like the rental yields are so low. It's like
Mhm.
you're getting 3% or something as a gross yield, and factor in strata and costs, and it's like it's just a terrible return. And they will have strong growth over a long period of time, but like they just become harder and harder to hold as you build a larger asset base. So that's why I tell lots of people, if you had that type of money, I can show you the data for Eastern Suburbs apartments and Newcastle houses, and Newcastle houses have performed as good, if not better, than Eastern Suburbs apartments from a growth point of view. But then you build in the extra yield you get if you buy something like a dual occupancy, and like it just makes way more sense to do that. So that's why I advise it now.
Yeah. Okay. One
Yeah,
more question on Newcastle. I
let's
see,
go.
I see, it's just because I follow your content and then I also follow another person's, and they tend to buy,
Who's the other person?
I can't, both sides.
He used to work for me, Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, they tend to buy, I guess, nicer houses in Newcastle from at least what I'm
He
seeing on.
buys everything that I taught him what to buy. The difference
Yeah,
is, yes, same shit. He just buys stuff that's already finished.
yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
you tend to go, I wanted to know, whereas, I can see the ones that you post on Instagram and they don't look that nice when you first purchase. So
Yeah.
because you have the backing and understanding of actual renovations and that's a part of your business, or does
Yep.
that come with being with Henderson?
Yeah, so we have a like Endeavour Build. If you're in Paddo, you'll see that Henderson and Endeavour Build are on like our signage everywhere.
I
So
do, I
they're
do.
yeah, they're both of my companies. So we've got a building company which does all of the renovations and the builds and developments and all the rest of it, and then we've got the advocacy advisory business. Look, whether you buy something to renovate or not, it actually doesn't really matter. we just like, and our clients like adding value to properties in the short term because you get that equity uplift, you get an uplift in yields. And let's face it, people love renovating properties. That's why the block's so popular and has been for so long. So look, the long-term returns are going to come from the growth. If you've got a little bit of capital in the short term where you can do a reno, that's also a win, but it's not necessarily a must.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack.
All righty. My pleasure. Say hello when you're in when you see me in Paddo again.
I will.
Legend. Ciao for now. All right. Kiri, you are next. For everyone who's just joining now, same structure as every week. Question in the box, and then I'll come through and answer. Kiri, you are up.
Hendo,
How are ya?
good on you?
Hendo, brother, I'm good.
Did you go for a run today?
Mate, I'm going to leave here and go and smack out 15 when I leave here.
Yeah?
So not
When are
yet.
you gonna start riding?
I'm doing a what do they call it? An Ironman in December in Western Australia. So I've got a
Western Australia.
I got a 200-mile run in April, which is 320K. So that's what I'm training for now. And then once I hit that out of the park, I'll concentrate on an Ironman. So if you know how to ride, I don't.
It's easy,
can
mate.
teach me.
Just buy a bike and get some shoes, bit of some tights, and you're away.
I reckon it's a bit harder than that, personally, but hopefully.
It's easier than running.
Well, mate, I hope so. What
Once
about
you
when
get
you
it,
combine 3.8K swim, 180K bike ride, and a marathon at the end? It becomes a bit more challenging.
the ride's the easy part, mate.
Well, I hope you're right. I really do. Hit me with your question, mate. You got a house and a unit in Coogee.
All right, so I too bought my first property in Coogee, 2-beddy, in 2008. And we've got a house in Maroubra. We've kept the unit. I'm just wondering what would be like a good scenario.
A good scenario. Define a good outcome for you.
I've got 2 kids, got a lot of expenses like in life, school fees and all that.
Oh yeah.
So what would be like an investment strategy?
And the investment strategy, it sounds like you're hoping it'll provide some supportive income, growth.
You get a bit of growth, maybe like a better outcome in 20 years.
Yeah. What's your house worth?
3.5.
And any debt on it?
600, 500.
Okay, so relatively low level of debt. And what about the apartment?
1.7.
It's worth and debt?
200.
All right. Well, a real quick win would be to sell down the apartment. Unfortunately, pay over the capital. Did you live in the apartment originally?
Yeah.
And how long has it been since you've lived in the house?
Maybe 8 years. So how does that 6-year thing work?
Well, because you moved out of that and went straight into another house, essentially the day you moved out of it and the day you moved into your new house, you'll start paying capital gains tax on the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have to
and
do a
how do they work
valuation.
out how much capital gains you pay?
Well, it's self-declared. Some people are more honest than others. You would.
Yep.
Sorry?
No, yeah, go ahead.
What were you going to say? If I tell them that it was worth X amount of dollars, fuck. That's a good question for your accountant.
What about if you've got an offer from a real estate agent via email?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, like I said, it's self-declared. You have to say that when we moved out of this property, it was worth Y and we're selling it for X. Okay. So we pay capital gains tax on the amount in between.
Yeah.
It's only if you get audited do you get in trouble. But again, question for the accountant. And so a really quick win would be to sell down the apartment. Unfortunately, pay a bit of capital gains tax on some of the gain, not all. And then use those gains to clear your owner-occupier debt completely. So then you're debt-free on your owner-occupier property, which is a huge win.
Yeah.
And then essentially re-leverage off that property to go down the investment path and, start growing the wealth that's actually going to give you the lifestyle. Because like I always talk about, your owner-occupier home's amazing, 3.5 mil debt-free, but it's actually worth $0 and gives you zero outcome.
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't do anything with it. But a lot of people want that, and that's totally fine. But if you clear that debt and then leverage off it to go invest, that's really the money that one day will give you the ability to have a good life and not have to work for it. That's the most simplest thing you can do. Sell Coogee, pay off your owner rock, and then continue to invest.
I
And
should
I'm
have sold.
assuming you earn decent income, right? If you've got a $3.5 million house, or no?
Oh, we had a little bit of money like a few years ago. So no,
Right.
not on a decent income. Oh, like average, whatever. Life works. I work.
How much?
Oh,
Come on, this is just an open forum here.
oh yeah, I know, like 250.
Okay, that's a good income.
I
The
work
reason
for
I asked the
myself. Yeah,
question, the
yeah.
reason I asked the question is because if you said 90 grand, I'd probably tell you not to sell the Coogee apartment because you won't be able to then go buy something which is of the same value. If that makes sense.
Oh,
So you're
yeah.
going to go from having a $3.5 million house and a $1.8 million apartment, combined assets of 5 to 5.5 million, to having a debt-free owner-occupier home and then only being able to go buy a fucking $700,000 apartment. So you actually go to a lower gross asset value, and the savings that you would get off not paying owner-occupier debt may actually not save you as much money as having a larger asset base will make you. So, but with 250 of income, if you've got no owner-occupier debt, and you run your own company, like you'll get the debt you need to be able to replace that asset anyway.
But what would you buy?
I'd buy lots of things. I'd buy lots of assets. I'd still stay residential, and I'd go pretty hard. Just go buy some really good quality houses, probably not apartments, for the same reason that I explained to Nat before.
Yeah, I had jumped in late. I heard that, but I was on a call.
Yeah, so essentially, I'd go buy houses
I heard
somewhere
it,
you
yeah,
can add
yeah.
some value to,
Yeah.
that sort of shit.
Yeah,
Because for your $1.8 million Coogee apartment, what's it renting for? $900 a week?
it's a nice apartment. It's 1,200 at the moment.
Cool. So it's renting for 1,200, which is roughly a fucking 3% yield,
Yeah,
which is not that crash hot.
yeah,
You'd be getting double that and the same growth.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Well,
absolutely, mate.
well, if you got a house in Newcastle,
Oh, lots of places, not just Newcastle, Brisbane. Like you got to do the right setup. It's got to be like the dual
Yeah.
occupancy house in Granny Flat. But yeah, you'll get a much stronger yield than 3%.
hey, so how does the capital gains work? How much money would I have to pay? Like that's
Done in your personal name, yeah.
yep.
So 50% of the gain would be tax free, and the other 50% would be taxed at your taxable income rate. So if you pay yourself, you're a proprietary limited company, are you?
Yep.
Or a sole trader?
Sole trader.
Okay, so you're on for. If you're in a proprietary limited company, and this is why structuring an accountants are so important. For example, you can set
Yeah.
up a proprietary limited company, pay yourself no personal income for the next 12 months, sell your property,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you'll pay much less tax. Yeah. But good to chat to an accountant about that.
yeah.
But that just gets added to your taxable income. So if you pay yourself 200 grand a year and you go make $300,000 of gain off your home, that gets added to your 200, so you pay 47 cents in the dollar. But like I said, 50% of the gain is capital gains tax free, so you'd only pay tax on 50% of it.
So
It's the lowest tax rate. It's the lowest tax rate that you can possibly pay as an individual is capital gains tax.
What? So if the profit's 500 grand, how much would you pay?
You'll pay tax on 250,000 of that, and assume that you'd pay. So you'd pay about $125,000 tax on 500 grand, which is fuck all.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. It works out to be about 23.5% total tax on everything. All righty.
All right.
Good on you, legend.
No worries, man. See you around.
Ciao. Here we go. Craigo, the great. You're right, big man. You there, Craig?
I am, Jack. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm good. How are you?
Now, Jack, just back to your Ironman feats. So someone that's in their 50s, get advice early on your running technique. So I'm about to go through my second hip operation.
You're kidding?
No, mid-50s, hip operation number 2. And
big runner back in the day, Craig?
Still trying to be a big runner today.
Right. What's the running accomplishments under the belt?
Only one under 3 hours.
Still solid.
Yeah, no,
Still
okay.
solid.
Right,
I do lots of big stuff. I don't really run marathons now. But yeah,
okay.
I don't really know whether I've got a good or a bad running technique. So it's a good shout there. I will.
No, get advice early. Get it corrected early. That's all I'll say.
I will do that.
All right.
Now, what advice can I give you?
Now, Jack, I think in like we're your typical Las Vegas family. I assume you know where
Las Vegas. No, please tell me. I've never heard of Las Vegas.
Mosman.
Oh, there you go.
Mosman,
Las
Sydney,
Vegas.
Las Vegas. The reason they call it Las Vegas is you never have to leave here because you've got everything here.
Don't know
Big
about that,
houses,
but
big debt, you got beaches, you got zoos, you got parks, you got it all. Anyway,
you probably. I got a good friend who lives there. Have you? Do you know Babak Moini?
no.
You surely would see him around. He has 2 cars with the number plate Sugar and Spice. It's the most eccentric guy ever.
Sugar and spice. I'll write that down.
You'll see his cars now, I guarantee.
Now
Anyway,
you've said it, I'll notice it. Look, I put in the chat, Jack, probably one of the things I wouldn't mind a little bit of your counsel on is how would you encourage or set up a couple of we've got a daughter that's 17, about to turn 18. We've got a son that's 20. Now they're likely to live at home because the house is too big. They're at uni.
Yeah.
How, sort of reflecting on when you were working and when you bought your first property, what counsel would you give a parent to encourage and help their children early on to get into a similar space?
Don't give him $1. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, because the issue that is like, we work so hard to become more successful. So we have the ability to give our kids, and when I say our kids, I'm not talking like I'm a parent here, but I hear lots of my clients talk about
You'll
it.
get to it. You'll get to that.
They work so hard so they can give their kids the life that they didn't have. But by giving their kids the life they didn't have, they don't give their kids the life skills that they have had to build their life.
Yep.
So I think it's interesting. Like, we want to go give the kids deposits, but then make them that, I don't need a save, and then I just get given this, and then one day mum and dad will die and we'll inherit it. I think it's bad. So, what my parents did was I got expelled from school and they said, get your fucking ass out there and go and get a job and go and work. Now, they didn't charge me board, very fortunate. They didn't do anything, but they said, you save for a house deposit. I was like, all right, if I don't pay board, I save for a house deposit. And if I didn't save for a house deposit, I would have been paying board. So that was what they did, and it worked. And then, I think my obsession with money and wealth creation come from feeling like I had a lack of, which, I'm not sure if living, in your household, they have a feeling of lack of or not. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's where my desire to make money come from. Hence the reason I went down this path. But the hard thing is, I seen in your question, one of them is at university or both at going to university.
No, they're both at uni. And
hard thing is, it's going to, like, serviceability is a big thing, right? So I was fortunate because I wasn't intellectual enough to go to university. So I earned a full-time income from a very young age, which is, may or may not be normal. Where going to uni, you're not going to earn enough money to be able to get the serviceability to be able to go buy a property. So if they can save, and then you could potentially guarantee a property for them where they've saved for the deposit and they've proved to you that they've saved it, and you just help them with the serviceability, I think that is good. But I just think the whole, here's a deposit, here's a house.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about it yourself.
I certainly weren't thinking of gifting, and certainly already charging the 20-year-old board for that reason, because year one work saved about 30K, year two I got a bit excited about life and didn't save much at all. So
which is, I think that's, for me, I did that shit too. I had fun. But it's the key. Like, I don't care what any fucking person says, and I've got lots of opinionated people who comment on my stuff. It's like, you will never, ever, ever, ever regret doing it early, because, like, it's only going to get harder. And the reality is, if you've got one property and it's got tenants in it, it doesn't cost you that much money. So they can still live, and they travel and do all that shit, and they come back in 5 or 10 years' time and they finish uni, and all of a sudden their property's worth double what they paid for it, and they leverage off that and they're off to the races. So that's what I would do.
Thanks, Mark.
My pleasure. I hope that was helpful.
That was.
And I'll get some thoughts on my running style as well. Thank you, man. Ciao. Adrian, your next cab off the rank. The drag. Big Adrian, here he is.
Can you hear me?
Mate, I gotcha.
You beauty.
You beauty. Let's do it.
So, I sent through the question on the Q&A. basically, I own a property, 2-bedroom unit worth 800,000 roughly, with my two brothers. We owe 350 on it, and we were fortunate enough, in not so good circumstances, to get an inheritance between the three of us of just under 400,000. So the option is we can pay it off tomorrow if we wanted to. My mum, who a very old school way of thinking, it may be the correct way of thinking, I don't know, I'm hoping you might tell me, thinks we should pay off the debt immediately because debt is bad. And we essentially, the rental income, which is apparently currently about $600 a week, that's just added to our income. I am of the view, and it's causing a bit of family tension, that we should not go down that path. And whether we invest it together to buy something together, or we've all got different families, whether we just spend that $130,000 each to invest in our own way, whatever that may want to be. That's the path that I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Here you are. Yeah. Well, the reality is it doesn't actually matter whether you pay $130,000 of that debt off or whether you go and spend $130,000 on other investments. You're still investing the money. It doesn't actually matter. The difference is by investing $130,000 in something, I'm not sure what you would invest it in, whether it's property or something else. Essentially, you just have to be confident enough that it's going to return you more than 6 to 7% per annum, because if you pay it off your mortgage, that's what it's saving you. It's saving you that 6% or 7% interest or whatever you're paying. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that'll increase your borrowing capacity by limiting the debt on that property, or it'll go down to zero. But it depends on what's important to you guys right now. Like, the idea of holding that property long term as siblings, like, what's the plan there? Are you going to keep doing that?
Well, that's the plan. It's a pretty good property. As I said, it's worth 800,000. We bought it for 400 about a decade ago. There's no intention to sell it unless we have to. So, what's the plan long term? Is just to get growth out of it and then eventually one day sell it? I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess, the thought of being debt free, removing that debt, because it's not much of a burden, but it is a burden. And one of my brothers, he's getting married in a couple of months and looking to buy his own property. You should get married at Settlers Rest. It's a great wedding venue. How do I know? There you go. Too late. Too late, to be honest. Yeah. So look, what have you got? You got your own home, or is there plans to go buy your own home or anything like that? I've got. We bought a principal home with my wife and 2 kids last year in the Shire. Yeah. And we have also, this is just with my wife and I, got nothing to do with my brothers. We actually bought a house, which I was fortunate. I was very grateful to see your clip a couple of weeks ago. We bought a house a couple of years ago in Petrie, in Queensland. Petrie Terrace or Petrie? Petrie in just north of Strathbone. Yep. So when I saw you, cool. So that's done well. Yeah. So we bought that for 700. 2 years ago, and it's doing really well. So we're in a very good position financially in terms of our investments, but I just wanted to, with this gift that we've been given, I don't want to stuff it up. Being paid off your owner occupier home, definitely not off that investment property. So the idea of decreasing debt, Mum's semi-right, but don't decrease it off investment debt, which is what the apartment is. Decrease it off your own home. And don't decrease it as in like pay it off, just put it in the offset account. Well, that's what it's doing now. Okay. Yeah, cool. That's the best place for it. Because if you go pay off your if you go pay off your deductible debt, being the investment debt, you've just decreased debt, which you get a tax deduction on, and you've still got owner-occupier debt, which is non-deductible. So the best place for it is against that non-deductible debt. Until we decide what to do with it, whether that be pay off Summer Hill. No, that's just the best place for it. You shouldn't use that money to pay off an investment because the investment debt is tax deductible. Got you. Yeah, which is investment debt. That's good debt.
bad debt is your own home. So the best place for it is to pay it off there. And if you just leave it in the offset account, it's like you've paid it off.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So it's going to decrease them. Like if you paid it off Summer Hill, it would decrease whatever it is, the mortgage by X or Y. Then it will start generating income. That income would get added to your taxable income, and then you pay income tax on that money.
Mhm.
Whereas right now you're paying income tax and then paying your owner-occupier mortgage with your after-tax income. Whereas if you decrease that after-tax income mortgage, that's a good thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You're a
Hope that
good man.
helps.
Thanks, Jack.
Mate, good job. Ciao, man. Righto. Big Crago plant. The great. Here we go. You there? Craig Plant. What a great name. Craig Plant. He's left the chat. Hello. Not interested. Sorry, mate. George Wilson, you're next. Bang. You there, George? Up. Okay. Sound like a robot, George. I'm nearly positive. No, can't hear you. Could anyone else hear that, or was that just me? There you go. George, you need to fix that mic. Let me try again. You there, George?
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go, bro. You sounded wild.
Sorry, mate. I'm calling you from California, actually. So it's pretty
Oh,
late over
mate.
here. But,
How is it over there? And you thought you'd stay up and enjoy the evening.
Mate,
Is it the evening over there at the moment, or the morning?
it is. It's 11. It's midnight. So
Oh, you're a good man.
Enjoy your content, mate. I think you're doing some great work, especially with these Q&As. Just had a really quick question. Just wanted to run my strategy, Aspire. So at the moment, we've got a property in sort of Middle Ring, Brisbane.
Yep.
We've got a property in Rockingham region. Both of those had for had for a couple of years. Particularly the Rockingham one's done reasonably well. We just purchased a property in Darwin. So that gives us 3.
For someone who loves my content, I actually haven't chosen the locations very well.
So I knew you wouldn't like that, mate. But
oh, mate, it's not that I don't like it. I don't. It's just funny.
Yeah, I get it.
Shit.
So we're sitting at about $2.25 million portfolio. We're
So
carrying
good,
about
man.
1.78 in debt. In terms of background, so I've got a wife, stay-at-home wife, and then a child. Probably grow the family over the next few years.
Mhm.
We're in a position where my income's really high at the moment, and we've got another 800K of borrowing capacity. And then probably at the end of this year, that income will go away, and I'm probably not, I think in the medium term, not going to be able to borrow for the next 10 or so years. And I think the idea for me is like grow the portfolio, going into the as quick as we can accumulate, enter the incubation phase. We're going to lose the borrowing capacity, and then sell down if we choose to in 10 or so years, 10 years plus, buy the PPOR, and then continue investing. That's the general idea. Kind of thinking of buying maybe a property around the 800K mark in the Newcastle area, and then if we have additional borrowing capacity later this year, buying another one, and then just sitting on it. And I just wanted to see what you thought of that, and whether I'm missing something here or there's something else that
No, man, I think it's a no-brainer. Like maximize borrowing capacity. If you're going to have a couple of kids, then like you said, you'll decrease the capacity. Your expenses will increase, which will also decrease capacity. So I think you're thinking along the same wavelength that I would think. Like max out while you can. I guess you just got to take into consideration that it's going to cost money to hold these properties. I can see you've got net holding cost at the moment, 25, 30 grand a year at the moment. You know, it's going to be higher than that, obviously, if you go buy more property. And you just got to make sure you can afford it on the one income, and adding a few little rugrats into the mix.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. And
that's pretty much it, man. And then maybe look at doing something in super as well. Like I'm not sure what your super looks like, but you know, that's a way that you can potentially buy another property without having the direct cost hit your personal back pocket, because it obviously is paid for with your contributions.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something we're looking at, you know, over the next couple of years, once we're maxed out and we're just sitting on it and we want to, you know, get itchy fingers. Maybe that's something we'll look at. But yeah, awesome. Thanks very much, Jack, and thanks for your help.
Hey, enjoy your time over in Cali. What takes you to Cali?
Just work, mate. Just working for the government, and just got an opportunity to go over here for a couple of years, and I'll be back to Australia, and yeah, soon enough.
Oh, good, man. Good
Yeah.
shit. Enjoy.
Thanks,
Great to
Cheers.
chat. Ciao, dude.
Thanks.
All right, the anonymous attendee. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question because I don't know who you are, so I can't allow you to chat. All right. Big Sally Rigby, you are next cab off the rank.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How is it down there in Tassie?
Good, sun shining, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
How are you going?
Good. I'm good. Just happy to see a rate cut. That's for bloody sure.
I know, so good.
I
Couple
know.
more would be nice.
Oh, wouldn't it ever?
Increase
Wouldn't it
the
ever?
old borrowing capacity, won't it, if we get a couple
That's
more
right.
of those?
That's exactly right. What's crack-a-lackin'? How can I help?
I'm just wondering, so just a bit like Craig, as you know from our discussions, we want to be able to help our kids in, or one in particular in the not too distant future, to get into the market. And like you have sort of said, not to gift them, we have basically said you come up with a deposit and we will, when the time's right, go guarantor. One of them's got a reasonable HECS debt, and she's sort of not sure at the moment whether or not to pay that down or save the deposit, or what your suggestion would be in regards to how we should manage that.
How much is she earning?
90.
So the HECS debt would have a relative chunk, because it's all based on how much they earn as to how much they have to pay out of their income.
Yeah.
The less you earn, the less impact it has. So I'd usually say don't worry about paying it off. But
so her and her partner combined would probably be about 160, 170.
Combined income or combined HECS debt?
Sorry, no, combined income. And she's got
what they study.
I know. Oh, she has had a bit of a study, but she's got 45 grand HECS debt.
Oh, that's all right. Well, the good thing about HECS now is it's pegged to wage price index, your wage price growth, as opposed to inflation. So it's 2.5% per annum, maybe even less than that, as to the interest you're paying on that money. So I would say if you're going to go guarantor for the mortgage when that time comes, use the money to save, buy the property, and then one day they can just refinance some equity out of the property, clear the HECS debt.
Okay, so it won't affect the borrowing capacity too much having that?
Well, it will, but it won't, because you're going to go guarantor. So.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll affect the borrowing capacity, but because they've got the guarantor, it's not as big of a deal.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
If
That's
they only had themselves, then obviously that's a bigger deal. Yeah,
yes.
With your support, they'll be sweet. And then once you've got the property's growing in the market, then they can focus on paying it down.
Awesome. Excellent, mate. That's all I needed.
On. My pleasure. You can bloody call me whenever you want as well. You don't have to wait until these things.
All right. Ciao.
All right. Ciao. Bye. DJ Murray. Please tell me you're a DJ on the ones and twos. You there, Muzz? Do people call you Muzz?
I wish I was a DJ. That'd be nice.
So you're not really a DJ? They don't go DJ Muzz on the ones and twos? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, classic. Mate, how can I help? Accelerator assets. Here we go.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, how much you should probably pump into a renovation. Where do you start and where do you stop, sort of thing?
It's a good question. So you stop when it has a diminishing point of return. So if you can spend 150 grand and you think it's going to add 300,000 worth of value, that's a good return on your money, right? You're spending $1, you're getting $2 in uplift. If you spend 200,000 and you only get 300,000 in uplift, well, that's not as good of a return, right? Because then you're only getting, give or take 30% on your money or 40% on your money. So it just depends on where the diminishing returns happen. And that generally is somewhere between, depending on the property value, but if you're buying normal price property, say 800 to 1.2 million, you usually can't spend more than sort of 300 grand on them, and it starts to make less and less sense.
Yeah, cool. Makes sense.
You
Thanks.
want to make sure that you want to make sure also that the majority of the money that you're spending on the property is actually going to things that increase the value and not things that are in need of repair that don't add value. For example, you buy a property and it's on piers and you need to go repair a heap of piers. That's like sunken money that has zero impact on the value. It just fixes shit that you don't see. Same as things like a roof or fucking, lots of different shit like that, where it's sunk cost, fixing plumbing and sewer and stuff. You can't see that. So ideally, when you're doing the due diligence and buying properties, it's just cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
All right, my pleasure. Anything else, Maz?
No, that's it. Thank you.
See you, legend. All right, Dan Thompson, the great. Is this Dan Thompson client, Dan Thompson? Let's find out. You there, Dan? Hello, Dan Thompson. All right, let's try Mr. Craig Plant again. You there, Craig? Craig's just gone on mute. He's not interested. All right, John Martin. John Martin, is this working? Absolutely, it is working. You there, John?
Hello.
Hey, how are you, John?
Good. Great to meet you, actually.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Great to meet you too.
I guess we're sort of, my wife and I are at a position where we're sort of looking to make the next move.
Yep.
We currently have an apartment in Alexandria. We owe about $770 and we've got a desk val of 1.35. Realistically though, if we were to actually sell it, we'd be looking at 1.1 to 1.2. Just been pre-approved for an investment loan of 2.3. And I own my company, PTY Limited, with family
Awesome.
trust.
What do you do?
I own a construction supply business.
There you go. As in like a Bunnings, but for trades.
Yeah, so we supply into residential and commercial construction, vapor barriers and high performance sort of products, glass, windows, all of the components.
Right.
Those sorts of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got good borrowing capacity. You got good equity in the property. You're currently living in the one in Alexandria?
We are. We've had a rental appraisal on it for about $1,100 a week. We've renovated it and so forth. We're sort of stuck in it at the moment because there's a few issues with the strata, so it wouldn't be viable to sell. It would sort of be, I think we'd be losing a bit of the potential.
Yeah.
We've sort of, my wife and I are tossing up the idea of rentvesting, as in we're sort of thinking about purchasing a property for the sole purpose of capital gain, and then moving out of Alexandria and renting that to allow the mortgage to be paid off. I think we calculated that with strata and real estate fees and insurance, the whole property would cost us about $4,000 a year.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so we're sort of just trying to work out. There's a little bit of a mental block for the both of us of, going from being in an owner-occupier to moving to a rental. But I think the idea of us purchasing another property to get that capital gain is sort of getting us across the line. We're sort of looking at the Newcastle, sort of Tigers Hill, that sort of area, but we've also been looking around the Hills District and the Shire.
Okay. So where can I assist with that mental block?
Trying to work out, what sort of properties we should be looking at, I guess, and what, we're happy to put in a renovation, but we don't want to put in a full, adding rooms and stuff, more of a, floors and new kitchen, bathroom, that sort of renovation. We're just trying to purchase something that we can go with the uplift, and then hopefully purchase again. So I guess the thing we're sort of working out at the moment is, look, you know, should we be looking the Shire in Sydney or Castle Hill sort of region, or would you sort of suggest going for more like Newcastle and going that direction?
Well, slightly different price points. I mean, Castle Hill, you're not getting anything for under 1.8 to $2 million, and
Yeah.
Tyres Hill, you get something for half of that. So
Yeah.
slightly different price point. The Shire is the same. The majority of the Shire, you're spending mid to high 1 millions. Again, Newcastle's cheaper. So what you tend to find is in these higher price point areas in and around Sydney, for example, the rental yields are horseshit. So it's super expensive to be able to hold a lot of those assets. So then the whole rentvesting thing becomes less appealing, right? Because all of a sudden now you've got investment properties that are also providing you with shit yield. So that's why we like Newcastle, because the growth is historically the same as Sydney, very close to. And you can buy properties that you can put your second dwellings and get dual income, which then gives you your 5 and 5.5, 6% rental yield, which then gives you much more income for the, you know, that price point that you're investing in versus what you can rent that same property for in another location. Hence the reason the rent vesting thing works so well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you go look at like a $1.8 $2 million property now in and around the eastern suburbs, you could probably rent that property for a 2.5%, 3% rental yield. But then if you go invest the same $2 million and also get a 3% rental yield, rent vesting has less of an advantage because you're renting for the same yield as essentially you're buying for, and you're doing it at roughly the same purchase price or value. So you want to make sure that your yield you're getting on your investments is higher than what you're renting for, ideally.
Yeah, okay. So if we're renting at 3% of the property value, but our investment is only getting 3%, we haven't moved forward except for...
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you still move forward because all of your debt is tax deductible, so then you get the taxation advantages. But if you have a higher rental yield, you get the cash flow benefits and the tax deductions. So it makes the benefit greater. So that's why I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of the rent vesting videos that I do, but like I'll do a house where you're renting it for a 1 or 2% gross rental yield, and then I'll invest that same amount of money into other assets that are achieving a 4.5, 5.5, 6% rental yield, and they're getting the same growth, and you're getting the tax benefits off the back of it. So it just makes the outcome better.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So we're just trying to make the advantage as best as it can possibly be. And a really good way to fix that mental block is to go and see, well, what would you have to go and spend now on a property as an owner occupier to move in? Go and look at how much the mortgage will cost you on a monthly basis, and then go and look how much you can rent that property for. And I'm assuming that'll fix the mental block.
Yeah, that's where we're sort of looking at it. You know, Sydney's sort of inner west. It's the property we'd want to live in is 2.5 to 3 million sort of range, and you know, and that's
We rent it for $1,500.
Yeah, or a mortgage of well over 10 grand a month.
Yeah, that's right. Plus then council rates and all that shit.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Okay.
No brainer. Hope that was helpful, man.
Yeah, I think I'll flick you an email and maybe we'll catch up and have a bit more of a chat.
Would love to. Cheers, brother.
Thank you.
Ciao. La 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 la. All right, Craig, I'm going to give you your third chance. If you fuck this up, you're out. Oh no, Craig Plant has left the chat. He is actually no longer here. That's it. He's cooked the book. He doesn't get another go. Kalen, the great. Kalen Owens, here he is. He's 18 years old. He's on the Zoom.
Hey Jack, how are you?
Hey mate, I'm good. You're 18, huh?
Yeah, I'm 18, mate. I'm 18.
Oh man. Mate, I remember when I was 18, just at the brewery on the cans.
No.
Where do you live?
Me, I live in Greystanes.
Oh, mate, you go to the brewery surely, or the Fiddler?
Yeah, a few times, not too much, but a little bit, mate. But yeah.
Mate, I used to be there back in the day. Tell me, bro, you're 18, working full time, saving for a deposit.
Yeah, man. So basically, I don't know. I finished school last year, at the end of last year, and I just basically got into a full-time job about a month ago. I'm in real estate as well, so I'm like working as a property manager. So like that's
Good
what
shit.
kind of like sparked the interest to like, I don't know, get into investing in real estate and stuff like that. But obviously I'm saving a deposit now. I haven't got like many expenses because I'm still at home with my parents. So I'm just
Awesome.
I'm just trying to basically save a deposit. I don't know. I'm just trying to get like, what do you recommend? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
What do I recommend?
Like, I'm just
Be a
trying to,
hermit crab for a bloody 12-month period. Save
Yep.
as much money as you possibly can. Which,
Yep.
how much are you earning as a property manager? 60 grand a year or something? 50 grand a
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, a little bit less, 45, something like that.
Bastards are ripping you off. You should work for Henderson. Yeah, I mean, how much tax you paying? Bugger all. Like, what are you netting every week? 750 a week or something?
Yeah, 750 a week. Yeah.
Cool. So you should be able to save minimum 500 of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
250 goes to whatever the fuck you want. If you want to go to the brewery or the fiddler, you just save up 2 weeks worth of savings and then go.
Exactly.
And just commit to saving $500 a week for 12 months. It's $25,000, and there's your first deposit to get into a $500,000 property. You're done.
Yeah, perfect. That's something like what I was like kind of thinking anyway. I was just been like looking at kind of houses like around around 500,000, something like that. But obviously, I don't know. Like,
you go to the Hunter Valley, somewhere like Cessnock or Curry or somewhere like that. It's close
to. I was looking at like places in Brisbane as well. Also, like a few places I've been looking at, like Gatton and stuff like that.
Issue with Brisbane is you won't get the first home buyer incentives, right? Because you live in New South Wales. So you want to stay within New South Wales.
Okay. Yep.
5% deposit, no lender's mortgage insurance, no stamp duty. You probably have to save 25 grand. That's it.
Would you have to live in it, or would you?
Debatable.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Potentially not though. You could have one room that you can stay in, and then you could rent out the other bedrooms to other people and have it as a share house. So
yeah, okay.
Many ways to skin a cat, bro. But that's how I would look at it. And you've only got to be a hermit for a very short period of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you're set up.
Yeah, no, sweet as, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, other than that, I'm just trying to basically set up a plan. So yeah.
That's the plan, bro. Be a hermit, lease as many fucking properties as you can, and get paid some commissions, and mate, you're off to the races.
Yeah, sweet as, man. All right. Well, thank you very much, and yeah, cheers.
Good shit. See you at the fiddler.
Cheers. See you, mate. See you there.
Ciao. Tommy Bevan broke his leg at the brewery. Mate, how good was the cool room? Cool room at the brewery. That was a place. Dan Thompson, we're going to give you another job. If for people who are joined in the questions box, ask away, and we'll go for another 20 minutes or so, and then I got to go running. Dan Thompson, your second attempt here.
Right, this should be better. Sorry about that.
There he
folks.
is.
Thanks, Jack.
Well.
Sorry. Yeah,
no
beg your pardon.
I
think it's a trap for young players, mate. If you've got the Zoom call on and you're off multitasking landscaping like me, and you've got your earbuds in and you can't access the screen to hit the button, you can't pick up the call. So
there you go. See, mate, that's why young people have always got their phones in their hand, so they can always make sure they're talking on the Zoom.
Hey,
hit me, mate. What's cracking?
Yeah, like you may have heard, you said on the last one, my client, I just signed up recently. Love your content. Have done 2 purchases in the last 2 years for investment, and done the old kind of my own accelerator strategy, putting granny flats on it and whatnot, and then
so good.
Saw some of your content and realised, man, look at that, this guy's got it lit, half my age, and you're kicking all these goals. I'm like, wow. And the people you've had on your shows have been great and really good advice. So thanks for that. I was just wondering,
no dramas.
I was just wondering if there's any sort of appetite for somehow for your business to branch off, where there's people like me that have got properties but have sort of either hit servicing limits or really just want some advice around how to structure what they've got, rather than necessarily getting more or getting ahead by purchasing more property.
Yeah.
What can you do?
So we have a master plan service, it's called, which is portfolio planning over.
Right.
That's where did you sign up for that?
Yeah, I've signed up for that. I just haven't engaged yet because I didn't want to hit the button with any more discussion with anyone until I'd done my tax for the year, so I know exactly what dollars we're working with before we go ahead with it. So
Yeah, well, mate, that's the service for people who are not ready to buy right now or just want to plan for the future. Sally Rigby's on here. She's a client who we've got to build out a master plan for.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
excellent.
essentially just looking
So
at your current situation.
I've been put on the right product. That's great.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to this year with you guys. So, yeah, and by the way, just while I got you, absolutely love Flamingo Sunday stuff. I know you don't get around to that often these days, but there's some awesome content there.
Yeah, I interviewed some cool cats, that's for sure. And then I fucking only have a certain amount of time in the week. So I thought if I can interview property related people or I can interview business owners, it's probably going to be more beneficial in the short term to interview property related people. So
the one thing I took away from that is, like, I've had a few hard knocks over my life, and the way some of these guys, or most of them, talk about, guys and girls, about how they've got back on the horse and done, like, just kept persevering after knockbacks, and that it sort of starts flowing sometimes later on in life, and I think that's where the patch I've hit, so yeah,
that's the key. The key is just getting back up and just fucking keep rolling with it. That's the only way.
That's awesome. Look, thanks, Jack. Thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure,
tonight.
man. Look forward to chatting in the future.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
See you, man. Take care. Adrian, big Adrian, who runs your social media? I run my social media. That's who. What's going on, Adrian?
Hey, Jack. How you going, mate?
Hey, I'm good, man. What's crack-a-lacking?
Oh, well, I've just started my buyer's agent course for BAR. Just finished my social media unit, and it's a fucking monster. Like, you're really active on the socials, and it's impressive. Do you do that all yourself? Do you have a team?
Mate, do I have a team? Yeah, of course I have a team now. But did I have a team when I started? No, I did not. It was Jack Henderson and his iPhone.
Yeah.
And my first ever employee was not an EA or a VA or anything like that. It was a videographer, because I just knew how important content was. So that was my first hire back in 2020. It was. So 5 years. And mate, let me tell you something. No one gave a fuck about who Jack Henderson was up until only a very, very recent time. So it takes a long time of talking to yourself, and your mum is the only one who likes your posts. And then eventually more and more people start to learn. And, now I just understand the more controversial shit is, and the
more people
the more annoying stuff I say, and the more crazy outfits I wear. Oh, not the more people listen, the more attention it gets. And then generally when you get more attention, a percentage of those people listen, which is good.
All right.
Thanks, yeah, man, but it takes time. It takes time. And the one bit of advice I can give you is don't be anyone other than yourself. Like, don't try and be Gavin Rubinstein or fucking Matt Steinway or any of these guys. Like, they're themselves, and that's the reason they have such big brands. So you just got to be you. Even that guy, what's that guy's name? He fucking interviewed with us. Who's the guy who drives around in the car and calls the agents? Christian. Have you seen that Christian guy who drives around in the car and he just calls real estate agents and asks about their listings?
Is that 20-year-old?
And
the young
guy?
And
he's like, just in regards to?
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah. So, dude, I don't give a fuck how much shit he gets put on. I guarantee in 5 years' time, he's got a crushing business because he's got attention now, right?
Yeah.
And he's just literally being himself, driving around in a car and, talking a bit of shit with some real estate agents. But it's worked, and some of his videos get more views than my videos, and I fucking spend 200 grand a month on ad spend. So it's crazy. So that's proof in the pudding. He's got 4,000 followers, and some of his videos get hundreds of thousands of views. And because most of the time people are putting shit on him, but it reaches a certain person that likes it as well. So that's it, brother.
Thanks, Jack.
Go hard. Ciao. All right. Nat, you've been just absolutely hammering the questions box. You're gonna get another poke at this.
Thanks, Jack.
Hutto local. No worries.
I don't stop you on the street.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, you didn't answer my question, dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 there that I've written, but I wanted to know what is it called when you build such a portfolio like yourself? I think you've mentioned you have 35 million. What is where you don't have to sell the investment to still attain the money? I think you're like, when I have my properties, buy me toys.
Yeah. So look, that strategy is essentially just using equity to pay for lifestyle and luxuries. But the variable to that is you need the income to be able to access the equity. So for someone like myself who runs a business, got good income, ever increasing, which I'm fortunate with the ability to grow a business, it means every year my serviceability should be stronger if my business grows, which means I can access more debt, which means I can use debt to go and pay for stuff. If you're on a fixed income, or an income that doesn't grow regularly, then you get to a point where you can't access any more debt. So even if your property values are growing, the bank won't lend you any of that equity because you can't service it.
Gotcha.
So that's what I didn't understand when I started. I listened to Chris Gray and I was like, fuck, what? You can just go bank and they'll give you the money to go buy a Lamborghini. I'm like, oh, how do more people not know about this? And then I learned that it's not just that easy. You need, lots of things, not just a property portfolio. So yeah, you need the income to be able to access the equity. But for most people, they don't have that ability to earn, infinite amounts of money. So the strategy that we use, the Flamingo investment strategy, is when you get to the point of max serviceability, that's when you go through a period of holding the properties and allowing them to grow in the marketplace. We call that incubation. During that period of time, that's also when you focus on decreasing your debt. And then you get to a point where you've got little to no debt on the portfolio and a lot of equity and hopefully some income that's coming off it. And then we go through a phase called consolidation and evolution. And consolidation is selling down your portfolio, getting that capital out of the properties, unfortunately paying a little bit of tax, and then investing that money for cash flow, because usually residential real estate isn't the strongest investment vehicle for cash flow.
Yeah. And then when it comes to not paying capital gains, I know I've written there, it's 1 year in your property, then you can, your owner occupier can become an investment, 6 years capital gains.
Yeah.
When, most people say you hold a property for 10 years to really have the return. So even if you've done that capital gains, you still end up having to pay it, correct?
Look, tax is unavoidable. It's like saying, how can we not pay income tax? It's unfortunately part of life. So the CGT free growth is essentially like you move into a house, you move out of it, you then rent that house out. It can be rented out for the next 6 years. If you do not go buy another owner occupier property, then that property gets 6 years worth of capital gains tax free growth. If you don't move back into it, then from year 6, you then start paying capital gains tax on any growth you get past that point. If you do move back into it, that 6 years restarts. So there is a way that you don't have to pay or can minimize your capital gains tax on one property. But again, as you start to buy multiple, you're like, oh, fuck. Capital gains tax is the part of doing life.
And then my last question here was the property purchase point where it tips into lower rental yield versus the contributions needed. So as you mentioned, like you buy in Newcastle, you'll actually have quite a good rental return in regards to what your property purchase will be, as opposed to you buy a 1.5 in Paddington, or no, who knows where you can buy that in these suburbs. But the rental return would then mean that one would have to contribute more money, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And just to be clear, in Newcastle, it's still the same. You still have a low rental yield if you just go and buy a single dwelling, which is a house. The way that we get an increased yield is we have a dual occupancy, which is a house and a granny flat. So instead of getting a 3 or a 4% rental yield, you get a 5 to 6% yield. You just don't have the ability to do that in Sydney, especially where we live, because the blocks are so bloody small and the planning doesn't allow for it. That's why we like Newcastle, because you can manufacture yield. We have a fancy marketing name called the yield acceleration method. But it's essentially just increasing your rental yield, because yield over a long period of time is ever increasing because your rental income continues to grow, but the price that you paid for the property never changes. So your yield in comparison to your purchase price gets better and better and better over time. That's what we want.
One of the points you often make is that you buy in a place where there are predominantly owner occupiers. Whereas, I mean,
like Paddington.
Yeah, whereas you're on one of these calls and it sounds like every person is investing in Newcastle. So what kind of balance there do you have?
72 people on the call and 700,000 people in Newcastle. So that's, I don't even know what that works out to be as a ratio, but it's low. Look, the reality is 70% of the buyers in Australia are owner occupiers, 30% are investors. So, like regardless if it's Newcastle or Sydney or bloody Brisbane, like the vast majority of people you'll see out there in the marketplace are owner occupiers.
All right, I will stop asking more questions because I could continue.
I'm here. I'm here for questions. I'm here for questions all day, every day. All right, I'll answer a few more. Great questions, by the way. Ciao. All right. So let's wrap up a few more. Nick Berry, the Bez. Here we go. First people who got married at our wedding venue's last name was Berry, and their wedding was have a very good wedding. Anyway, Nick Berry, hit me with your question.
Hey Jack, nice to meet you.
Likewise, brother.
Yeah, I'm working on ABN, doing hire car work and a bit of YouTube too, reviewing cars. Earning great money now, but earn a healthy deposit. But yeah, just basically trying to make sure I can actually borrow because banks prefer people working on ABN. Well, that's what I've been told. So that's one challenge. But yeah, $45,000 to $48,000 in an investment. If I do get pre-approved, I'm looking around Barga, Urumbul, or even Goulburn for an investment property. Is that something?
Why around there? Do you live there or something?
Well, I know Barrel pretty well because my mum lives there. So
Barrel?
Yes.
Unlikely you're going to get a house in Barrel for the deposit you've got.
Yeah, but around Urumbul. But yeah, like, well, what would you do with $45,000 as a deposit for a first home?
Yeah, I would use it as a deposit for sure. Use the first home buyer incentives for sure.
Yep.
How much are you earning on your ABN? Like, what's your last 2 to 3 years tax return look like?
On the top of my head, like $80,000 to $90,000.
Sure. So you fall within the realm. So you can borrow probably 600, 500 to 600, and you got enough money for a 5% deposit, and you probably still have some change, so you can go and have a few nights on the cans if you want.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, man, that's what you do. So I can introduce you to a mortgage broker if you need.
Yeah. Okay.
Email me jack@henderson.com.au and I'll intro you to a broker.
Okay. And where would you think Goulburn's a good investment by any chance?
Man, I don't know fuck all about it, to be honest. If I'd be lying if I said yes or no. All I know is Goulburn, I'm pretty sure, has a massive ram, doesn't it? You can get to Goulburn.
Yeah, it does too.
Yeah.
The massive ram.
I got a photo in front of it once, the big ram. I have a client there that's a very wealthy person from Sydney, and they have a big farm in Goulburn, but it's a regional place, right? So, generally, and again, this is a generalized statement, those areas are not as strong growing as other locations. But if you live close to there and it makes the most amount of sense, doing something is better than doing nothing. So that's the motto that I use.
You really got to look at growth, and what you said, the yield and your rental return.
It's a first home for you as well, right? Because you use the first home buyers. So you want to buy something. Maybe are you handy? Like, can you jump on the end of a paintbrush and do a little bit of maintenance works and shit like that? Yeah, well, like that's probably a good thing, Like you can do some work to the property if you buy it local to home.
Yeah, and I do want to rent it
and
out.
rent out some bedrooms to some friends or people on flatmates. I'm not sure who rents there.
Yeah. Okay, so it probably just takes a bit more research, but then again, just trying to find a good asset in a.
Don't worry about doing too much research, brother. So don't do the analysis paralysis. And you review cars for a living by the sound of it, so you're probably right into data and reviewing shit, yeah?
Yeah, like I mean, I just don't want to, like if you may as well just ask an expert than be an expert at everything. So that's why.
That's right. What's the best car you've ever reviewed?
I don't know. I get brand new cars every week. So at the moment,
What's
I've got a Land Cruiser.
A Land Cruiser? An actual Land Cruiser or a Prado? The new Prado?
No, the 300 series. I had the Prado a couple of weeks ago. So I do that.
What do you reckon's better?
The 300 series.
Nice. What's the best car you've ever reviewed? I'm sure everyone listening will like to know that.
Look, lately,
lately,
Mustang.
All time.
Oh, okay. There's just so many. I mean, I'll send you a link.
There's got to be one where you're like, I really love this car. I'm a car man. I love cars. Come on. You ever reviewed a Ram TRX?
I actually did a Ram, but I'm getting a TRX in about a month.
Fuck yeah, bro.
The
Those
last,
things, I didn't.
very last of the V8.
The final edition, I've got one of them.
Yeah, they're cool.
The thing is a weapon, mate. I got a McLaren and an RS6, and I like driving that thing when I have a license more than I like driving everything. It's an absolute beast.
Well, I guess
Still
if
enjoy
I end up going down to Goulburn, it'll blend in with that big giant Ram.
It will. Good shit. All right, Nick Berry. That was a very good chat, my friend. We'll talk soon. How's that for a pun? Made myself laugh. All right, we got a couple more. Oh, dude, the question's just deep on John Martin, 911 turbo. Yes, I'm thinking the next thing will be GT3. That's what I'm thinking next. 2025 Victoria is going to burn. Belinda, you're next. You were the next one on my list. Belinda Chisholm, welcome to the chat.
Hi, Jack. I've got my husband here too. So
G'day. What's your husband's name?
Steve.
Hello, Steve.
How are you, mate?
How are you?
Very good.
All right, let's go. House and a self-managed super fund, 12 years old.
Yeah, we sort of started thinking it's getting the age of moving it on, and it's gained a bit of equity out of it, and thinking about one, do we do a bit of renos to it? Been pretty well maintained. We've only had 2 tenants in that time.
The house is only 12 years old, or have you owned it for 12 years?
House is 12 years old. Yeah,
It's a townhouse.
yes, we bought it off the plan.
Yeah.
And whereabouts is it?
It's in Ellen Grove in Brisbane.
Okay.
We're just wondering, going forward, do we do it up a bit and sell it, or
what could you do to a 12-year-old house? I'm assuming it's like relatively new.
Yeah, well, I guess it is, but
paint and stuff. I'm assuming the kitchen and the bathrooms aren't all that old.
Yeah, it's all, well, that's the age of it. So we've had our house here for 15 years, and now we're going through the process of doing bathroom upgrades and things like that. Yeah. So we just think,
goodness,
yeah.
We buy houses that are 80 years old. 12 years is that's like a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't worry. Like you would if you were going to sell it. I mean, the only reason you would sell it is if it hasn't performed. So that is why I would sell it. Like if it hasn't grown, then definitely, definitely trade out of it.
First 8 years, it didn't grow. It's pretty flat line.
Yeah, Brisbane was pretty flat, right? Yeah, recently, it's probably done okay though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done pretty well in the last 4 or 5 years for sure.
Yeah, and look, growth is lumpy in nature, so that's pretty normal. Look, the only reason you would sell it is if, like I said, you look at the growth, it hasn't really performed all that well. 12-year-old property shouldn't be costing you all that much, and it definitely is going to be costing you less than something that's 50 or 60 years old. We usually account for between 1 to 1.5% of a property's value in expenses every single year.
Yeah.
And if it's costing you less than that, then that's pretty in line with what something's going to cost you. And then if you sell it, you'll obviously pay a little bit of capital gains tax inside of super. If you've held it for longer than 12 months, which you have, you'll pay 10% CGT, which is less than your personal name, significantly less. And then you just got to reinvest that money anyway. So
yeah, okay,
yeah, okay, yeah. We just signed to you, Jack.
I know. I recognize the name. I was like, one of these are clients or not?
Yeah.
Well, you guys get to ask me lots and lots and lots and lots of questions, so we can talk about this much more in depth. But that's how I'm going to look at it. Just, I guess, to let you guys know, I'm just going to look and go like, what do the numbers say? How much is it actually costing? What has it made us over that period of time? And then, if we sold it, what are we going to put the money into?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Legends. Have a great night. We'll chat soon.
Okay.
Ciao, guys. Bye. Drew Visser, you are next cab off the rank. Let's go. Your Uber has arrived. Here it is, Drew Visser. Oh.
There we go. Hopefully it's
Hey, there he is. How are you, Drew?
So, not too bad. I've been, sitting on the sideline for a while and kind of listened to the podcast on Monday night in bed and went, yeah, that's me. I need to get off my ass and actually do something. So that's what I'm calling.
You listen to my podcast on Monday or someone else's?
No, your one.
That's
the one
good. If you're listening to any podcast, it's surely got to be mine, which is great.
So yeah, look, done all right, I guess. Not a multi, or probably am, but not a multi-millionaire. Just hit 40 years old. Bought property pretty early, like yourself.
Yeah.
And then got in a financial advisor. Like, was finishing the degree, and thought need some help to sort out this pay rise. And then they basically told us to sell our property and buy a brand new, property in Fortitude Valley off the plan.
Oh,
and
yes, that is my favorite stuff.
So screwed us
you got
over,
done
really.
over. Yeah, motherfuckers, eh?
So yeah, nearly lost our $40,000 deposit that we put down at 25 years old, 30 years old. And then had to try and save ourselves to get it all sorted.
So you settled on it?
Yeah, we still settled it. I made it happen. I took 2 days off work to go and sort the finances and get it to settle.
Yeah.
So took a personal loan, knew that I could pay that off pretty quick. Yeah, got it sorted. Now.
Okay. And then how long ago was that?
10 years ago. It's now worth as much as we paid for it.
I'm going to say they've done well. Those apartments have done really well.
So.
Was that in like Tim Gurner's FV development or something?
Metro one. So whoever.
Yeah, right.
Metro.
They're all as shit as one another.
Yeah, it's a little tiny box on it's top floor, but it's a waste of money.
If Sally Rigby's in the chat, if you're still here, Sally, that is very funny. That's the type of shit that I was telling you about. I think she's here still.
So we literally paid $420 for it off the plan, and it's now worth $420. So
that's terrible.
So
isn't
it's been shit. But
and you still own it, or you sold it?
Still own it.
Oh
no! Haven't got rid of it. Just, it's been at NRAS, and so it's had some tax advantages there, but that's where I'm at the moment. Still own it. Haven't sold it yet. So
what other investments have you got? That's the only one.
Got another house as well.
Oh, that's good. That's the one in Tenerife?
No, we've got a house at Murray in Brisbane.
Oh, you're trying to work out if you can buy a house in Tenerife. Sorry.
No, so we've just last year when I was reading like Ben Nash's books and stuff like that, decided that I'd do the Rentvesting instead of trying to buy. So both those properties now own outright, no debt, and moved across into a house in Tenerife where we now rent. But are now trying to go, well, what do we do? Like, how do we structure the investments? And do we do that under a trust, or do we continue to do it under an individual? So yeah, that's where I'm at, and sort of went in, actually spoke to some of the real estate agents today that we rent this place through, and said, been looking at you guys, and he said, yeah, just do it. So yeah, got to get an appointment to actually start doing something. Been listening to your podcast and listening to where to invest and how to do it, but I still kind of go, I don't have the time to do it. So,
what do you do for work?
Funny enough, I'm a fleet manager as well, so I'm a car person.
There you go.
So,
well, who was the other spoke to a guy? Berry, Mr. Berry. He's a car man. There you go. You could tee up a little review session.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to that. So the question is, the main premise of that question sounds like it is you're unsure about the structure and how to hold the property and how to move forward from where you are right now.
So that's been holding me off, I guess, for about 6-8 months, because I'm like, got the.
You didn't think about maybe chucking it into ChatGPT? That can solve most problems these days.
No, you'd think your financial advisors and your
mate, most of them are as useless as bloody stale bottle of piss, because they're too scared to say anything. I mean, I'm probably too far the other way. I say too much, but people are too scared to say, "Oh, do this."
Yeah.
Look, the reality is there's pros and cons to everything, right? There's pros and cons to buying properties in your personal name. There's pros and cons to buying properties within your trust, or a trust or a company. It just comes down to what the end goal is for you guys. So the main reason our clients buy properties within entities currently is not because there's these awesome tax advantages and because they get asset protection if someone sues them. Like, it's generally got nothing to do with that. It's just got to do with protecting their borrowing capacity, which is a finite commodity.
Yeah.
So that's why we do it. And if you've got no debt at the moment, or you've only got that debt for Fortitude Valley, then You know, you can protect. There's no debt on Fortitude Valley.
No, I know outright.
Oh, there you
now
go.
too.
Yeah, perfect. So, you know, you'd protect all of your borrowing capacity. And then if you ever wanted to buy an owner-occupier home down the track because you were sick of rentvesting and you thought Ben Nash's advice was stupid, that Jack Henderson guy, he's an idiot, then you've got the borrowing capacity to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you buy investment properties in your personal name, max out your capacity, then all of a sudden you want to go buy an owner-occ, you've got to sell the investments to be able to do that, which defeats the purpose of investing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so that's we help with that shit in short, but
Yeah.
that's how I think about it. It's like, what's the outcome? What are we optimizing for? And if you only have the capacity to buy one property or you only want to buy one property, then I would say just go do it in your personal name because there's no benefit within a trust or a company structure. But if you've got good income, you've got good capacity, you've got good equity, obviously, even though that property hasn't grown, there's equity sitting there that you can use because it's got no debt on it. You know, you can build pretty quickly by doing it the right way.
All right. Because I was Ben Gill or something. Ben, who's the guy in Brizzy? Your
Blair.
agent? Blair. Yeah.
Did you speak to Blair today?
I haven't spoken to Blair yet, but I've stalked him on LinkedIn, and because I was like,
well, funny story about Blair. So Blair was actually a client first.
Yeah.
And we bought a couple of properties for Blair, and then he said, Jack, I hate being a police officer. I want to get into property. And I said, go and do X, Y, and Z, and then come back and see me. And then he worked, Sydney team for a while, and then Brisbane operation got set up, and now he's absolutely crushing it up there. So.
All right. Well, I'll fill out the forms. I'm actually getting married on Friday, so
mate, congrats!
And then we will talk.
You got to fill out a few forms that you're getting married first, eh? Sign a few things.
And that's also been some of the money going to that. So.
Mate, congrats! Where are you getting married?
Friday. Sorry.
Where are you getting married?
Just here at Tenerife, so just at Newstead in a little wedding venue, so somewhere local.
Oh no, not that one down. There's that one down next to Felons. It's not that one.
No, it's a place called the Refinery. It's
oh, yep, I know where that is.
It's a little it's a nice restaurant, and good people that run it. So we've gone with them.
Mate, enjoy the absolute shit out of it. Hopefully, you've only got to do it once.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Otherwise, I'll have nothing again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You'll tune back in 20 years' time and go, fuck, I'm stuck, Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, congrats, man. We'll chat soon.
All right. Do some forms. Thanks a lot.
All right. Ciao, man. Alan Gregory, how can you access the last Zoom meeting? I'll get my EA to send out the Zoom recordings. All right. I've really got to go and do running. I'm just going to really go through and just do a few quick fires because I have to go run 15Ks now and it's getting late. Oh, there's Sally, still there. You heard the great story about the 420. We're still worth 420. Adrian asked, do you recommend buying under a trust or in a business? What are the benefits of each? Like I just said before, the benefits of each are inside of a trust or a company structure. You have some serviceability benefits from protecting your capacity. You've got some asset protection benefits. There's some taxation benefits, but there's also downsides because you forego some personal taxation benefits as well. So it's different for everyone. Nearly everything I own is inside of an entity for a multitude of reasons. Ben, 70K deposit, earning 75,000 a year, employed, been told around a 510 loan. That sounds about right. Where would I buy? It depends on if you're in New South Wales or not. In New South Wales, you could still get something in like the Hunter Valley, like Cessnock, Curry, Maitland area surrounds. If you're in Brisbane, you'd probably have to be in Ipswich, I'd say. Victoria, don't really know. NC, my question is, would it be better to stay in a job that may pay in 2 to 3 years or change and do something that pays every week and keeps accumulating? I don't know, man. You should be in a job that you love regardless of what it pays. AI is probably going to take all our jobs anyway, so AI is crazy, by the way. Matthew, chasing the recordings. We'll get it all sent tomorrow. I'll make sure of that. And where am I going for a run? Well, hopefully you're not a murderer, but I am going to go now run from the office into, where am I going to? Centennial Park, that's where I'm going. And then I'm going to go run home. It's getting late for a 15K run, man. Tell me about it. That's where I'm going to go. Guys, love you all. Thanks so much for all of your time. Go and have a great night. I'm going to go for a run, and I will see you back here next Tuesday at 6:30. And how good's an interest rate cut? Hey, Hail Mary, full of grace. The RBA has lowered the rates. Thanks, guys.